option B as there was last time, 2 years ago. Unfortunately, last time, the best option for the MTA's majority of riders was not the one that was selected, not even close. The optics of keeping the base fare at $275 won out, with the optics of that beat substantial additional discounts to the weeklies and the monthlies, which is what the majority of, and the bonuses, which is what the majority of MTA riders use. The only people that buy the single fare are someone who forgot their MetroCard and a tourist. So unfortunately that didn't win, but the two options are, again, to keep the base fare. Option one is to keep the base fare at $275, and then that would put a bonus of,
No, it says it would eliminate the bonus.
yeah, that eliminates any bonus, but it keeps the base fare. Option two is to increase the base fare to $3, but increase the bonus to 10%, and then it's a lesser bonus on the weeklies and the monthlies. Many folks, myself included, were not happy with this, but just these two choices, so there will be an additional smorgasbord, I think now is the right term, of choices, because everybody had an opinion of what should and should not happen. This scenario does, for the first time, however, on the commuter railroads, cap at $500. If in other words, if somebody is in the eastern Long Island or northern Westchester, northern Putnam or Dutchess, and is paying a $500 commutation fare, that is capped. It would not go up at all.
You're talking about monthly.
Monthly.
Yeah. Andrew?
Yes.
Since I'm going to be the first one, speaking of the first one, are we going to take a position, I mean, if there are going to be more alternatives offered between now and November 27th?
There will definitely be.
But not between now and November 27th.
Well, no, not between now and the fair
Well,
hearing.
then, I think it would be a good idea for us to, at this meeting, take some kind of a position so that whoever testifies besides me can not, I don't want to give my opinion.
I don't want to put words in everybody's mouth, but my opinion has been, we want the best deal for the MTA's best customers, that is their most frequent customers,
Which would be.
as opposed to the occasional
Which
customer.
would be.
By the way, let me
option
just
two.
tell you this. Commissioner Schwartz today asked, and General Counsel Tom Quigley is looking into it, what the legality is of having a New Yorker's fare, in other words, for New York residents versus someone who is not a New York resident. 2 tiers of fares based on residency.
Andrew, all I'm suggesting, Andrew, what I'm suggesting, 2 years ago, when the last time we testified, we had a position, and actually, you all, or staff printed
You
out,
sounded southern for a minute, so Trudy.
y'all, yes, you,
Oh, God.
boo, whatever. But I think it would be helpful, not only for me, but for everybody else who is going to be representing us, that we have some kind of a uniform position. I mean, the last time you printed out some suggested testimony for me, which I then kind of, put my own views in, but I think that, I mean, I could certainly do it, but I would.
We're working on the testimony. We've had, I think Ellen said, there has never been time that's been this
As
full
crunched
I
as.
in the last
understand. Yeah, I
couple
know.
weeks, so we're working on that. And we'll
Okay,
have-
but-
Hold on, let me finish my sentence.
Yeah.
And we'll have something to you and to everybody, in the, say, right, well, certainly before the 27th.
Okay,
so
can we
by the
though
end of this week.
get a sense of, right now, either take it for a vote, or a sense of that this represents whatever we're going to,
Because the initial is the baseline, so this might be
So,
useful.
because if
having
you
that
want, I
discussion
can put
now.
in a proposal that I think that option 2, with some variations, makes sense, because that's basically what we came out for 2 years ago,
We
saying
did.
that it should be
Because it was the
for
biggest discount
most
for
of
the
our
majority of the
riders,
customers.
rather than just keeping the fare at a certain amount, which is, as Andrew said, which is basically used for, tourists, out-of-towners,
But
sometimes.
Trudy, what's complicated after today's discussion is it does sound as though the board may want to put in a third option that may be.
Or a fourth or a
Or
fifth.
a
I
fourth.
understand, but I didn't say that we should say, but just a sense of the TRC that we
I
want,
wanna know what the other options are.
no matter what,
We will
we think
keep you-
it should be
Because
favored.
that meeting's gonna be
Let me
impactful.
also give you this timeline. At the December MTA board meeting, they're not voting on the fare options then, they're voting on the balanced budget then. The actual individual A or B or option F or whatever that they ultimately agreed to, that vote is in January with any fare hikes taking effect in March.
No, but what I'm saying is the way you put it, and I'll try to paraphrase what you said, is that whatever the fare raise becomes, that it should favor
The best deal for the MTA's
for the
best and most
MTAs,
frequent customers.
exactly. And say it again, because I think that's the
We
best way.
understood it.
We'll put it in writing for you.
No, but I think it should.
We're in favor of the deal that's
I
the,
wrote
Well,
down
let's
what he
get,
said.
let's get the sense of that everybody
3 times he
here
said.
agrees to that.
you have a what?
I have a different question.
Hold on one second.
Well,
So
let's
just-
get Trudy's answer
All right,
first.
so just so that, one of the things that was clarified at the meeting was that, options 1 and 2 would both bring in the same amount of money. So it's, but Larry and a number of people weren't comfortable with only having 2 options.
There are many
The-
ways to
the-
realize that 4% yield that they're looking for.
And the amount of money in these options is the high end. So that's what they're putting forward, that this is the high end
Yes,
of any,
But I'm talking.
but they're not going to necessarily be putting out these 2 options
No,
before the fare hikes.
these options are gonna change
no,
before
I
that.
am
Yeah.
not saying that we should go with the options, the lot.
Yeah, Trudy, we got it. We got the
We
language,
want the best deal for the most active MTA.
not most
The
active.
best deal for the best
For
customers.
the best
Best
and for the
customer.
MTA's best and most frequent customers.
Most
That's
frequent,
okay.
but yeah,
Yeah.
okay, and is that the sense of the TRC?
Dr. Cronin. Sure.
Okay,
No,
Yes.
no, it's not, I wanna know what the others are.
That, thank you.
It's
Thank you.
always,
or
it's always
disabilities.
half of whatever you're, that's understood, that's why it's.
Well, if I can round it to a half.
And I
Yeah.
think, once we have a chance a
around
little
to
more to
75.
absorb what the budget is saying, because the last time, there was a big change at the very last minute on what choice was going for, it does seem as though the board and the MTA takes ideas that are given at the hearing. We may have suggestions to put in that can be floated around too.
But we didn't think that it was really appropriate to share testimony before we knew it was gonna happen today.
Yeah,
So
and then
let
today
us-
it
let
was
us
threw
work on
everything
the
up
shell
here.
of it.
No, I think the way that Andrew
We got
put it is
Okay,
perfect.
Chris,
Regarding this budget, and I'm glad Bert said it before me, but it'd be better, is one thing that it's not just for the customers, but it's also gotta be easy for a senior or disabled customer who can afford it, because remember, the board did say upstairs, for the low income, like NYCHA houses people, or people who have trouble in,
That's a fair fare, so that's
Yeah.
different.
exactly.
That's the city fare.
Well, somewhere it's got.
Well, the city's paying for it,
The
that's
city's
not
paying for
actually.
that.
They approved the mechanism to make
And
it
that's
possible.
where they were mentioning, when we were upstairs, they're mentioning about this, it is something that I think the way they were all refining upstairs, I don't think one person gets the point, or one person says, oh, I got it, but really don't really get it. I think we just gotta be really cautious on this now, because we don't know if there's, what the third and fourth option's gonna be. All we know is the
I think we're on solid ground by stating what we just said,
Yes.
which is we want the best deal
Starting
for the
from
best
there.
and most
And we
frequent
can also
customers.
add a sentence, of course,
See what I mean?
considering continuing half fare for people with disabilities and senior citizens. Just make sure that that line is in there, or else I'll get shot at every senior center that I go to, they'll beat me with their canes.
As I mentioned earlier, we will be getting the quarterly, the two or three proposed dates for the next quarterly bus meeting out to you as soon as we receive them from the bus folks, which I expect will be in the next 2 days. And we'll keep you posted on that. I've already spoken about Amazon and sustainable funding. Several people have come forth and complained about the redesigned Staten Island Express bus stops. So they have changed some of those already. They've changed some of the Manhattan destinations already.
They're doing a good job in fixing what needs to be fixed. But the problem is, once you get to the Gowanus, you're stuck. So they can adjust any bus line, any bus stop they want. Once you get to the Verrazano Bridge,
Well, some of the buses we're talking about do use the New Jersey route.
no, some do, but the low Manhattan buses,
Yeah.
once they get to the Verrazano Bridge, they're stuck. So they can change all the bus stops they want. But you can't change traffic,
No, no.
so.
Oh, you wanna mention the, new fair payment, approval that the committee made, was it that the board advanced today, and that Staten Island is gonna be one of the early?
Well, I'm just gonna
Well,
bring it
yeah,
up,
the new
as long as
fa-
you're on Staten Island.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, go ahead, Scott.
Are we or I gonna have access to that, the tap card or the app for the buses?
We've asked before to be as part of the.
Staten Island buses, as well as the
Is that like first
Lexington
bus?
Avenue line between Grand Central and Atlantic Terminal are going to be the first two places that the new fare payment technology will be tested.
So will we be part of that test? or-
You
Yeah,
are.
we've
You
asked in the
absolutely are.
past.
Okay,
That means also the three buses that go over the Verrazano into Brooklyn.
Not express, well, yes, it would have to be those, yes.
no, it said it
Yeah,
includes.
the local buses,
It includes
not the
express
express
buses. No, it said it includes express buses.
No, there's a small starting point.
Okay, all right.
It's a test,
It's a test.
initial test.
Remember, this is only a test.
We've been in the tests in the past, and so we can ask permission to be in the test.
And the first phase of this comes in bank-issued credit and debit cards, which will happen next year. After that, and there'll be phone application as well, an MTA issued card. They're not actually going to do away with the Metro card until 2023, when everything is in place. They will be running two simultaneously. And then when they're done, all they have to do is unscrew the slot where the cards swipe through, remove it, because it's the same turnstiles, it's the same cubic. Cubic is doing it.
They're just attaching a reader.
Yes,
basically.
yes, on the front. Yes. And I asked the sensitivity of the reader to phones and/or the tap card, and just having it in your bag is not, it has to be much closer.
Within a couple centimeters.
Yes, within so many centimeters for it to be read. So, that's all, that's coming, if we live long.
I'm sure people will try.
Where's that Jimmy Fair?
Or somewhere at the other end.
What it does is,
Still riding.
it allows articulated buses to use all door boarding and tap in the rear and tap in the front, and that will defray some of the,
So
just
that's
racing
what
on the rear. In other words, it'll register if you're going on the rear and haven't tapped. At least I'm assuming that it will, because that's the whole point of all door boarding, is to reduce time and fare evasion. Yes?
What will it do to the SBS buses? I mean, the way you do the fare now?
They said they are also keeping off-board fare payment. Certainly through 2023, you keep the Metro card, so.
Yeah, but
Oh, so they're not changing that to tap?
With the new fare payment system, you'll be able to refill your card or phone app on a computer, at a machine, or right on your phone. So,
But the bank issues.
booth agents will become customer agents.
Will the
What's that
banks
whole
be
rollout?
issuing
That's
new
2023.
cards if it's?
It's
Yeah, but
a new
SBS
bank
is the
issued
same,
card
or
with
is
an
it the
MTA
same?
chip in it.
Yeah, but how does that work with the vending machine? That's what she's asking. How do
You won't need a vending
How would that
machine.
work?
You won't need a
You
vending
won't need a
machine.
vending machine.
It's just,
You'll be able to
you know,
load it
at
from
one
a
stage,
computer or your
that
phone.
could be
You buy it on your phone.
2023 is a long ways away.
You can use your phone, or you can use the bank issued or MTA issued card.
Okay.
Then you just, I don't know if you've ever refilled a PATH tap card. Have you ever used PATH and refilled a card? You just put in whatever money you want, you tap the card to the machine, and boom, it's in there.
I think Philadelphia has a system.
Except a key card is
Yeah.
the same.
Andrew, there are a lot of seniors who do not use their phones for that.
Right.
I mean, the most.
You won't have to.
And so they're not gonna refill on their phone.
They won't be using their phone, they'll
They won't be
probably be
using
using
their
the card, which they can just go and tap on a machine.
Yeah.
Or,
Oh, okay,
or,
okay.
or it's scheduled, like the senior card now can be, when it gets below a certain amount, it'll automatically load it for you.
Automatically
Yeah.
load, oh, okay, okay.
Like easy pass.
Yeah, just regular for the disabled card.
So
The
it's
easy
not
pass.
just,
Yeah.
it's not just the phone,
Not
No,
at
it
all.
starts,
Ever.
it starts.
Never, never.
ever.
And the one thing we talked about when this first was talked about in the stages was, are they gonna look at the most problematic bus bunching areas like the crosstowns to prioritize some of those areas once they get to Manhattan or the Bronx or Brooklyn to roll it out in a priority way to address some
Well,
of
all
the
routes
heavy loading
do not
spots.
merit
No.
articulated bus equipment, as it turns out, from
Right.
ridership, you know.
No, but those
The
areas that
crosstowns
are
pretty much do.
articulated and heavy loading.
Well, they're doing the entire bus revamp, right, so we don't know what's gonna come out of that.
Well,
They're
they won't
gonna
be
do the
doing
entire
Manhattan,
system.
this may well,
This is not gonna start in Manhattan.
no, it's not starting in Manhattan.
No,
Starting
it's
in
not.
Manhattan.
It's- Yeah,
Right, but
I
the full
think-
rollout when they first
Front line.
presented was to 2022, 2023.
That, by then, it should,
Yes.
Manhattan
Done that.
bus
All of
revamp will be
the-
done by 2020, is scheduled, no, not will be. It's supposed to be
Yes.
redone by 2020.
all redone because that's when they will actually get rid of the Metro card. The Metro card stays, dual system
Hello.
stays. Hey, Michael.
So we in Staten Island work, I still live.
All right, so my report is finished. Um, I'm sorry, it's a
Well, it's
busy,
not his fault.
it's a busy time.
Second that motion, thank you.
so I just wanna confirm
I don't talk
that
as slow as some of the other board members though. Some of them just go on and on and on. It's a contest now between two particular.
Yeah. At the fair hearings, it will not be a presentation of two different options. There will just be a conversation about, potential fare increases, without getting into that level of detail.
Right.
Right,
What is it,
So-
go down to percentage-wise?
4.
4% net.
Actually, for the Easy Pass and toll increases, there are two options there, a 4% increase and an 8% increase. And many of them are leaning, it sounds like, towards the 8% increase because that will bring in so much more money to the capital program.
Then there was a question about why cars and buses.
Yes, and differential in fares rates between trucks and passenger cars was raised today. And for some reason, and Larry Schwartz rightfully said, you have to look at the per axle rate, because trucks pay per axle in many cases. There are smaller trucks and then there's those giant container trucks, so, you know, some of which are bigger than some New York apartments, so.
And one of the things that is not on your sheet is how much it brings in. And so they're looking for it to bring in $316 million in 2019.
Doing away for the first time with coins.
And that's why there are other revenue sources that could possibly be looked at to see, would you rather have this big a fare increase, or would you like to find another
Here's the goal
revenue
for
source
2019.
income? And that's what it seemed like Larry was interested in taking a look at.
I think he was saying, we need to look at everything.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, it was much more the breadth that they're looking at for the capital program.
But the other point that they made is that congestion pricing may bring in $1 billion, but the deficit will be $1 billion. So those funds wouldn't necessarily be dedicated to fast forward. That would just go to keeping the budget balanced.
Yes, and that's why other additional, non-spoken about yet, funding sources need to be discussed. The board is getting very active in these discussions now, and assumedly will be speaking with elected officials, as will all the advocacy groups and all of you, I'm sure, because we can't lurch from crisis to crisis like this. It isn't good. It's bad for morale. It's bad for the system. It's bad enough that whole sections of lines will have to be shut down because they were ignored for so long instead of being kept up.
Very true.
It's really a terrible situation. There is also the contract has been let for East Side Access, so work at Harold Interlocking will be increasing which may result in some increasing delays to Long Island and possibly some Amtrak trains. There is a lot of discussions going on currently with Amtrak about Penn Station access for the New Haven line of Metro North and the 4 New Bronx stations that will bring, which will really bring a transportation improvement to the Northeast Bronx. I mean, when you can go from Co-op City to Midtown in 28 minutes on train versus an hour and something on an express bus, that's gonna change a lot of travel patterns.
Maybe they should call it express.
Yeah, but in the meantime, Amtrak is looking to put the costs of catenary improvement in the Harold area and the replacement of the Pelham Bridge in Pelham Bay Park, which their trains use, no Metro North trains use yet, on the backs of the MTA. So, I spoke to Jano about that this morning, and so discussions are definitely going on about that. But it's gonna be a tough struggle. There's so much going on right now. Anyway, we have a speaker coming, so I know we have issues to talk about, so let's go to old business. Why don't we do that? Anyone have any issues they would like to bring up that haven't?
I'll hold it off for the bus meeting.
Okay,
You already answered that question, already old business.
okay. New business. Whoa. Chris and then Scott.
Scott, let's not go first.
Let Scott go
Scott,
first. Go
I didn't
ahead.
notice something until last week, in my 53 years. In Staten Island, we don't have a PA system anywhere along the line, except in St. George. And with the time clocks, all it says is delays or holding. Is,
On the Sir line?
yeah,
Sir line.
that's Sir line. Well, yeah. So along the whole route, there's actually no PA system. And I never realized it until the other day.
You
they
know,
said
it's
that-
funny that you bring that up, Scott, because I meant to tell you that a reporter from the Advance called me at Alan Capelli's
Which one?
suggestion. I wrote it down, I don't have it.
Tracy?
Does she do transportation?
Yeah.
Probably was Tracy. Apparently, there's been a rash of suicides on the SIR,
Oh, yeah.
and I asked, are they jumps, or, she goes, no, they're actually people laying down across the rails. And I'm saying, are these on straightaways or on curves? And she said, I don't know, but I will find out. I said, and she said, they're almost all after midnight. And I said, because, you know, if they're on straightaways with the lights that the R44 fleet has, you could certainly see something coming unless it was on a curve and all of a sudden you came across
Well,
it.
I know Tudor on the curve on Staten Island near Huguenot, there's a switch tower. And they hide behind the switch tower, and when the train comes, they jump out.
And
Oh, my God.
so I said to her, one of the big differences on Staten Island versus the subway system is we have a lot of people watching, including booth agents. Of course, if you're not at St. George or Tompkinsville, there are no
Oh,
agents
3 o'clock in the
anywhere.
morning, nobody's around.
There's nobody around. She goes, there are cameras, but I'm not sure they're taking in this. If they had agents at those stations, they might be able to talk someone out of it or call the police or do something, but there's nobody.
There's the chief.
Well, are they all near platforms or these are they're between
Usually,
stations?
Between
one-
stations
between
sometimes.
stations, Between stations.
Yeah.
A lot of them have been
Well, what's
kids
the-
in,
Oh.
like high school.
Well, one was
No,
a
it's
high
not
school
really
student.
committing suicide.
Yeah, but just to get psychological on you, when you have a suicide in one spot,
Look, let me listen to Scott, please.
when you have a suicide in one area, people kind of gravitate to the same area and continue it. That's,
Because
No.
it worked.
it worked there, and so if someone's on the edge, they're gonna go to the same area. But, and we have a lot of, and there's a lot of access to get to the track.
The reason I brought that up was because the questions you just asked about the signage, the real-time signage is keyed into the PA system, and you don't have, do you have at every SIR station, the amount of time left to the next train?
Almost every one, you have that, but if something happens, you get delays or holding, that's all it says. You don't get, you can't get an announcer, there's no PA. And you can do outdoor speakers, I mean, there's no reason why it can't be
That
outside.
on Long
No
Island Road
reason
and
at all.
Metro North.
Yeah,
I just never realized.
and we have it at outdoor subway stations, so,
I just never realized.
yeah, that's ridiculous. That's something we have to talk to, I'm gonna talk to Sally about that. That's a good point. Chris was next, yeah.
Good point.
Regarding, what Ruth and Lisa just brought up earlier about Amazon, are we gonna take any role on this? Because since this has been mentioned on the news a lot about transportation in that area, because to me, and this is just me saying this, I see it to me as job opportunity. Amazon, I haven't even heard one thing out of Amazon's thought of what they're gonna do with transportation yet. And I'm not saying we should say yes or no, because I just wanna know,
Oh, that was the scope now.
can we,
We've taken a pretty strong position that Amazon should be paying for transit infrastructure in the area.
Improvements, yeah.
do we get an answer yet?
From,
Oh, you're not gonna
the
get an
court of
answer
public
for a long
opinion,
time.
yes.
They just made the announcement. There you go.
Believe me, there's
Yeah.
not gonna be any.
No, it is,
answer.
I'm
feeling
getting
this.
three
I'm
different
feeling
points,
this.
and
I'm
then,
feeling this about Amazon going to be in Long Island, I'm not feeling it.
There's, I mean, it's a conversation that we started, and it's a conversation that I think we're gonna continue.
Do you want to send our written statement to Amazon to see if we get a
No, don't send it to Amazon, send it to the mayor and the governor.
No, send it to Amazon.
No,
Oh, you
you
know,
can send it
it's
to
Amazon.
They don't want it.
That's
They
all
don't
I'm trying to-
want it.
Go.
Send it to Jeff Bezos. What-
Wait, this should go through either an op-ed or a letter to the editor. They're gonna look at this piece of paper and throw it away. Gave it to Brad Hoylman today, gave it distributed
Okay.
out broadly on Tuesday evening to the senator, and we'll find other ways to get out this message and to hone it a little bit more, particularly about,
Have you sent it to Corey Johnson as well?
Corey, I have to reach out to Corey.
Yeah, Corey has come out and said he's
Yes, he has.
thinking, he's
Yeah.
leaning against it.
He has no role in this,
No, they
so
don't.
he can do
No,
whatever
no,
and say
but it's
whatever
in
he
the court,
wants.
you're talking about the court of public opinion.
Yeah.
But no,
And
but we're talking about the transit investment.
that's what I'm talking about, that since Corey, it'll add to Corey's ammunition. There's no harm in sending.
Oh, no, I know, I'm gonna reach out to Corey.
And
Have
what
it
I
for
am
him.
also suggesting, besides everything else, that you send it to the governor, the mayor, and you also send it to Kathy Nolan. In other words, the people who are in favor of it, that especially Kathy Nolan, who is represents and was at the press conference, the Amazon press conference. Okay?
We will
And
do
you can
that.
even send it to Carolyn if you want to
Yep.
also, or I'll give it to
But
her.
I wasn't, when I was trying to.
Oh, you're not done?
No, because we got everyone coming, when I wanted,
Please finish.
what I was trying to say is, and I agree about the testimony, it should go to Amazon, because, and then we should ask them to please respond back, because if they're gonna be, let's say that it does happen, it's opening up jobs, but the concern is transportation is, one expensive procedure. They wanna know is, what are you gonna do for the workers to get them A, home, or B, to work
They
there?
don't have to do anything.
Mhm.
That's why we're saying that there should be that requirement.
Lisa, don't you think Amazon has looked into this?
I would imagine that
In
they're
this
gonna run
totally-
shuttle buses from
That's
the,
what I'm
from the
imagining.
subway stations.
That's
Yes.
it?
For their
Yeah.
employees.
To the,
For their
to their
employees.
East River location. They
What's
can
the
walk from
traffic
City Corp
congestion?
Center.
What's the existing traffic congestion?
Apparently, City Corp
it's not-
has been moving their employees out, and so
Yeah.
many of those places will be taken by Amazon
Right, if
employees.
they, in their first year when they're in city core, there's not gonna be any issue with needing to get people from subways
the
to
subways are right
office, or
there.
even from the Long Island Railroad. It's when they build their new facility, and they're, which is on Annabelle Basin it's off Vernon, on the waterfront, at 44th. So there are like 3-4 subway options and 2 Long Island Railroad station options that you could take to get there. So that's why we're calling for investment. The stations look horrible. The trains they're not gonna be able to
It's not
increase
accessible.
capacity. But that's not what you wanna be as the small G gateway to Long Island City, is peeling paint and stained walls and just it just looks run down and like there hasn't been
I
any
think
investment.
Amazon right now should be responding to this, because transportation for their employees safely, and I agree what you're saying, Lisa, about.
Even the visual.
There's other hands that have been raised,
No, I'm
and we
just
need to
saying,
get to them, so let me, before our speaker.
We'll distribute this statement.
No, I think
I know you're trying to run out the clock, but I would like to speak. There are 3 quick questions I have. The first one is about fare beating. So thank you for having the Chief of Transit Police speak. But last week I started to notice that the MTA or the TA has spent several $100,000 with new signs that say fair beating is a crime, do not do this.
Fair evasion will cost you.
Yeah, well, so ask him, and I'm asking you, what's this all about, since everybody's fair beating and it's being
I can tell you what the
criminalized?
genesis of those signs are. David Jones, who was an MTA board member, almost accused transit police of singling out certain ethnic groups
Community
for
service.
enforcement. The turnstile doesn't know what you are when you jump it, of course, but, he said the least you can do is post signs to alert people that they are breaking the law, and that is why you have all of these signs all over the place.
There should be in more languages.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay,
Absolutely.
at least I got an answer, thank you. Second question, Fulton Street subway station, transit, right at the entrance to the 4 and the 5 train, uptown, is a giant time, what do you call it, time clock or?
Countdown
clock.
Countdown clock.
For the A and the C. The A and the C are nowhere near that particular set of
Two
tracks.
levels down.
Yeah, but by the time you see it's 3 minutes away, you'll break your neck trying to get down two levels.
Giving you options.
I'd like to
Just
see
giving you
that
options.
changed back.
Those are the only two lines mentioned on the steps up to the 4 and 5?
No, I think there's.
No, it's all there.
It's only the A and the C right in front of the doors going in past the turnstiles,
It's all there.
uptown.
On my way up, I'll look at that.
Nowhere near the IND as we used to call it.
Yes.
Third thing is every SBS vending machine has a nice plaque bolted to the bottom that says something to the effect of problems, call 212 MetroCard. Well, phone numbers in New York are 10 digits, and these are 12. So every time I call 212 MetroCard, Ma Bell tells me my call cannot be completed.
Have you tried putting a 1 before the 212?
Yeah,
Okay.
it doesn't help. That just makes it 13 digits, which even gives the phone lines more indigestion.
Because sometimes, you
There are a lot
know,
of numbers like that, and,
Usually if you drop the last couple of digits, it'll go through, but that's not what happens.
well,
So I think somebody should call,
So you've never gotten through?
never.
9 plus 3 is 12.
And then you try to run out the clock.
212 MetroCard is 12 digits.
Yeah, but our phone
number
number's
is
at
a
10.
number is 10, if you're
Yeah.
calling 212-555-1212.
They just dropped the last two. They do, a lot of people
I've
do
tried
that.
that, it
But
doesn't
there are a
work.
lot,
Because
It
a lot
doesn't
of,
work.
a lot of people do that because they think
There
people
are
will
a
remember
lot
it.
of
They
people
just
Yeah,
throw it
drop
out
the
there.
S savings.
Okay,
I'm not
okay.
listening to this and there's 3 people talking at the same time.
I will ask them what's up with that.
That's all.
Absolutely. Trudy?
When Scott brought up about the countdown clocks, and now this gentleman also, I just thought, I guess it's old business. There are
We did
still,
old business.
there, I know, but, so it's new old business. I did, because I forgot that there are still no countdown clocks on the Second Avenue subway stations. The few, nothing at 63rd, 72nd, 86
and
or
96.
96.
I know the stuff.
Okay, and they're still not there, and they should have been in the first, it's now
On the platform?
on the
Yes.
platform.
Don't write. We know the answer to this. We
Okay,
asked
and
this.
the last meeting that I brought this up, I was told that they were on there, or whenever we had,
There was a power issue at those stations
Yes.
with that particular technology, and that they were working on it.
This is the newest
I
station?
know, it's
Could
ironic.
could you please